Campaigning for the United Kingdom's election next month is officially underway. Voters will elect a new parliament on December the 12th. The outgoing parliament was formally dissolved earlier in the morning before Prime Minister Boris Johnson went to Buckingham Palace to notify Queen Elizabeth of the step. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has kicked off his party's campaign with speeches in a series of constituencies. Brexit is likely to dominate the election campaign, but candidates will also focus on healthcare, climate change and other issues. Now, DW's Charlotte Potts joins me now from London. She's tracking that story. Welcome, Charlotte. So what can we expect from Boris Johnson and the Conservatives?
Well, what's become very clear this morning is that it is going to be a very nasty campaign. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, compared his opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, with the Soviet dictator, Joseph Stalin. So this is the kind of language he will use in the upcoming campaign. And he's also trying to paint a picture of this election as people versus parliament. He said right now in his campaign launch speech that this parliament didn't get anything done on Brexit, that needed to change, and that only with him in power Brexit would get done and the United Kingdom could move on from this Brexit saga. So this is the clear strategy behind his election campaign: vote for me and then we get Brexit done.
And what about the opposition, Charlotte? What are they going to be saying and doing to try and get votes in their favour?
Well, also they are painting a very nasty campaign at the moment. Jeremy Corbyn, I was at his campaign launch, at the Labour campaign launch last week, and he is making this election about people versus the elite, going against, in his words, dodgy landlords, billionaires, tax evaders, those kinds of people. And he is trying to make this election about domestic issues, about healthcare and housing, because his message on Brexit is not very clear. The Labour's message on Brexit is not very clear. They demand a second referendum, but Jeremy Corbyn won't say where he stands on the issue. So it's much more complicated than on the Conservative side, and this is what could cost them some voters in the end.
And Charlotte, I know it's early days, but given recent opinion polls, is it possible to speculate on the outcome of the election?
Well, at the moment, when you look at the polls, it looks very good for the Conservatives that they would get a majority in Parliament. But of course, the campaign of the Conservatives has had quite a shaky start. For example, with that Joseph Stalin comparison that the Prime Minister drew this morning. And 5 weeks until the election, of course, is a long time to go. And what will be really interesting to see is how voters will react to the fringe parties. For example, the Brexit party, who wants to get Brexit done ASAP, and the Liberal Democrats on the other side who want to forget about Brexit altogether and stay in the European Union. So we will keep a close eye on those parties, of course. But what is very clear is that this general election is all about Brexit. 80% of voters say they will make up their mind in regards to the issue. So we can expect another so-called, referendum on the issue of Brexit in this general election.
Right, a referendum to the ballot box. Charlotte Potts, thank you very much for that update from London.